Jasmine stood frozen in the middle of the living room, her suitcase still half unpacked by the door. The walls felt too familiar, every framed photo from her childhood watching her silently, as if they too were shocked at what her mother had just said. "Pack your things. Leave my house today." Elaine's voice was sharp, almost too calm, like a knife that cut without effort. Jasmine's mouth opened, but no words came out at first. This was her home. The place she had run back to after her life had crumbled just weeks ago. She had come here searching for comfort, for safety, for her mother. "Mom," her voice cracked, small like a child's. I don't have anywhere else to go. Please." Elaine folded her arms, her eyes narrowing. "You always have excuses. Always needing someone to carry you. You're 28 years old, Jasmine. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing but failure. Nothing but shame." The words stung, harder than any slap. Jasmine took a shaky breath, stepping closer. "I just lost everything. I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd." "You thought wrong." Elaine cut her off, her tone colder this time. "You're a burden. You've always been a burden. I am done carrying dead weight." Jasmine's chest tightened, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. Her throat ached as she tried to swallow back the tears that were rising too quickly. She had given so much already. Years of her life, her dreams, her strength. But to her mother, it was never enough. "Please," she whispered again, her voice breaking. "I need you." Elaine's eyes hardened, and her next words broke something inside Jasmine. "You'll never be enough. Not for me. Not for anyone." Silence filled the room. The ticking of the clock on the wall was the only sound, every second dragging like a reminder of how quickly her world was falling apart. Jasmine lowered her gaze. Her hands trembled, but she forced them still at her sides. The tears finally spilled, but she didn't wipe them away. Instead, she nodded slowly, almost as if she was agreeing with her mother. But inside something shifted. She felt it like a small flame, hidden deep in her chest. A quiet, burning truth. She would never beg again. Not for love. Not for approval. Not even from the woman who had given her life. She turned toward her suitcase, her vision blurred with tears. Her hands gripped the handle, heavy with everything she owned in this moment. Elaine stood watching, unmoved, like she had won some cruel battle. But Jasmine knew differently. She wasn't walking away as a failure. She was walking away as someone who had nothing left to lose, and everything left to fight for. And she swore, as she stepped out of her childhood home into the night air, that she would never come crawling back. This was the end of begging. The beginning of something else. Jasmine was once the golden child. Bright, ambitious, always at the top of her class. Teachers praised her, neighbors admired her, and even strangers would say, "That girl will go far in life." She dreamed of big things. She wanted to travel, to build a career, to make her mark on the world. But life had other plans. After college, when most of her friends were moving into their first apartments and chasing careers, Jasmine stayed behind. Her younger brother Caleb had fallen ill, and someone needed to care for him. Elaine, their mother, had just remarried and seemed more focused on her new husband than her children. So Jasmine stepped into the role no one asked for, but everyone expected of her. She gave up job offers, interviews, and the bright future she had worked so hard for. All because she loved her brother and couldn't bear to see him struggle alone. At first, Elaine acted grateful, but slowly her gratitude disappeared. Instead, she began to act as though Jasmine's sacrifices didn't count. Whenever things went wrong in the house, Elaine pointed at Jasmine. Bills overdue? Jasmine wasn't working hard enough. Dinner late? Jasmine wasn't organized enough. Caleb feeling worse? Somehow it was Jasmine's fault too. Day after day, Jasmine worked herself to the bone. She juggled multiple part-time jobs, running from one shift to another, carrying the weight of the household on her back. Rent, groceries, medications, so much of it came from her paychecks. And yet, no one said thank you. Elaine would shake her head and mutter, "Is this all you can manage?" As if Jasmine's endless sacrifices were never enough. The pressure didn't stop there. Jasmine's personal life crumbled too. For years, she held on to her relationship with her fiancé, clinging to the idea that at least in love, she would be valued. But even that foundation cracked apart. Her fiancé betrayed her in the cruelest way, cheating with her best friend, the one person Jasmine thought she could trust. When the truth came out, Jasmine felt her world collapse. She left him, of course, but the damage was deep. Betrayal from both the man she planned to marry and the friend she confided in left scars no one could see. With her heart broken and nowhere else to go, Jasmine did what felt natural. She returned home. She thought her mother would be there with open arms, ready to comfort her after everything she had given and everything she had lost. She thought Elaine, of all people, would finally understand that Jasmine needed kindness, just once. But instead, she was met with rejection. Cold, sharp rejection. Her mother didn't see a daughter in pain. She didn't see the sacrifices, the loyalty, the years of silent endurance. Elaine saw only failure. She threw Jasmine's pain back in her face, called her a burden, and pushed her out of the only place she thought she could call home. And now, Jasmine stood in the middle of her story, caught between the weight of everything she had given and the crushing realization that it had never been enough. To Elaine, to her ex, even to the world, it felt as if Jasmine's worth was invisible. But beneath that heavy despair, there was also something else. A whisper inside her heart, quiet but steady. I have given too much to people who never valued me. It was not a shout, not yet. But it was there, like a seed buried deep in the soil, waiting for its moment to break through. Jasmine didn't know it yet, but this breaking point, this rejection, would not destroy her. It would build her. Jasmine leaves the house that night with a single suitcase and a heart that feels heavier than stone. The streets are quiet, but inside her everything is loud. Her mother's words replaying again and again, cutting deeper each time. She doesn't know where she will sleep tomorrow or how she will keep going, but one thing is clear. She will never beg again. For the first time in her life, Jasmine is truly alone. She rents a small room in a rundown apartment on the edge of the city. The paint is peeling, the floor creaks, and the window doesn't close all the way, but it is hers. No one yells at her here. No one tells her she is not enough. The silence is both painful and freeing. She spends the next weeks in quiet routine. She cuts off her family completely. No calls, no messages. Elaine tries once or twice at first, only to throw more insults, so Jasmine ignores her. Slowly the noise fades. She pours herself into work, keeping her head down, never explaining to anyone what she is really building. Because unknown to her mother, Jasmine had been working on something in secret for years. Late nights after long shifts, early mornings before Caleb woke up, she had been quietly building a tech startup. It started as an idea, then became sketches, then endless lines of code. An app she believed in, one she thought could change lives. She never told her family because she knew they would laugh, just as they laughed at everything else she dreamed of. Now, free from their constant judgment, she gives everything she has to it. Days blur into nights. She lives on cheap coffee and determination. The world outside doesn't notice her, but on her laptop screen, something is growing. Then it happens. One morning, Jasmine checks her phone and sees that her app has exploded overnight. Downloads are climbing by the thousands, reviews are flooding in, and social media is buzzing with her creation. People love it. Investors call. Journalists write. The idea she built in the shadows is now standing in the light. Within months, the success is beyond anything she imagined. A major tech company makes her an offer, $400 million to acquire her app. $400 million. When she signs the deal, her name flashes across headlines. Suddenly, everyone knows who she is. The girl who once had nothing, the daughter her mother called a failure, is now a multi-millionaire at only 28. But instead of joy, Jasmine feels an emptiness she can't ignore. She has money now, security, recognition. But when she looks around, no one from her family is there. The people who should have been proud, who should have hugged her, who should have said, "I knew you could do it." They are silent. Worse, they don't even know. Elaine, the same woman who threw her out like trash, has no idea that her so-called burden of a daughter just built something worth more than their entire family could ever dream of. The betrayal burns. Jasmine thinks of every insult, every night she cried herself to sleep, every sacrifice that was thrown back in her face. And now, she realizes the truth. Her mother never wanted her to succeed. She wanted her to stay small, controllable, dependent. Not anymore. That night, Jasmine sits in her apartment with the signed contract in front of her. Her hands shake, not from fear, but from a strange, powerful calm. She whispers to herself, almost like a promise. No more. No more giving to people who never valued me. No more begging for love. No more carrying their weight. The decision hardens inside her. From this moment on, she will live on her own terms. Her money, her freedom, her life. It will not be spent trying to earn the approval of people who only ever tore her down. Jasmine closes her laptop, exhales slowly, and feels it for the first time. She is free. Elaine begins calling Jasmine when Caleb's medical bills start piling up. At first, it is only once or twice, but soon the calls come every day. Some are filled with fake sweetness. Jasmine, honey, you know Caleb needs you. While others are full of anger. You're selfish, leaving your own brother to suffer. Jasmine doesn't answer. She stares at the ringing phone and lets it go to voicemail. Each time she hears her mother's voice, the wounds from that night reopen. Pack your things. Leave my house today. Those words still echo. She reminds herself, I will never beg again. I will never go back to being her punching bag. But ignoring the calls does not silence the storm. Rumors begin to spread through the extended family. Aunts and uncles whisper that Jasmine has become cold-hearted. Cousins shake their heads, saying she has forgotten her roots. At family gatherings she does not attend. Elaine plays the victim. She abandoned us. Elaine tells anyone who will listen. When we needed her the most, she turned her back. I gave her everything, and this is how she repays me. Those words travel fast. Soon, even people Jasmine barely knows send her messages. Why are you being so cruel to your mother? Jasmine feels torn in two. She loves Caleb deeply. He was the reason she stayed home all those years, the reason she worked herself to exhaustion. He is the one person she cannot blame. But she refuses to be used again. Helping Caleb always meant being controlled by Elaine, and Jasmine knows if she gives in now, it will never end. At night, guilt eats at her. She lies awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking of her brother's tired smile, the way he used to say thanks Jazz when she brought him soup or sat by his hospital bed. She remembers the nights she stayed up all night watching him breathe, afraid he might not make it till morning. Her friends notice the heaviness in her. They remind her of what she has accomplished. Jasmine, you've built something incredible. Don't hide it. Show them you're not the failure they think you are. But Jasmine shakes her head. It's not about showing them. If I do that, it means I still care about their approval. And I don't. Not anymore. So she stays silent. To the outside world, she lets them believe she is still struggling. She lives simply, dresses simply, and never flashes the wealth she now owns. The world outside her closest circle has no idea that she is worth millions. Then one evening, her phone lights up with a message. It's from Caleb. Hey, yes. I know Mom's been saying things. I just want you to know. I don't blame you. I'm sorry for the way she treats you. I miss you. Jasmine stares at the screen, her chest tightening. She reads the words over and over. Tears blur her vision. Caleb is reaching out in secret, behind Elaine's back, apologizing for something that was never his fault. She types slowly, her fingers trembling. I miss you too. Always have. I'll never stop caring about you. They begin exchanging small messages, cautious but warm. Caleb talks about his classes, his dreams, and sometimes his pain. He doesn't ask for money, only for connection. That alone makes Jasmine cry, because it shows he understands. He wants her, not her wallet. Still, the conflict inside her grows. She wants to help him. She wants to make sure he has the treatment he needs. But she knows the moment she sends money, Elaine will swoop in, twisting it, controlling it, turning it into another chain around Jasmine's neck. And so she waits. She watches from a distance, building plans in her mind for how to help Caleb without letting Elaine take control. Meanwhile, Elaine's pride keeps her blind. Instead of reaching out with humility, she sharpens her tongue. She slanders Jasmine at every chance. She's jealous of me. Elaine tells relatives. She always hated my happiness. She ran away because she couldn't stand that I built a better life without her. She's lazy, she says another time. Couldn't keep a man, couldn't keep a job, so she left. Typical Jasmine. Always running from responsibility. The words sting when they reach Jasmine's ears, not because she believes them, but because they come from the woman who should have defended her. A mother's voice is supposed to be a shield. For Jasmine, it has always been a weapon. And all the while, Elaine remains completely unaware. She has no idea that the daughter she calls a failure is now sitting in boardrooms with investors, negotiating deals worth more than Elaine could ever imagine. She has no idea that the burden she cast out is the same woman who quietly controls an empire. Jasmine listens to the lies, feels the weight of guilt and love and anger pressing down on her chest, and knows something has to change. She cannot carry this silence forever. The storm is building, and soon it will break. Elaine's new husband abandons her, leaving her in debt. The man she once bragged about, the one she claimed was proof of her better life, is suddenly gone. He takes his money, his promises, and his charm with him, leaving Elaine with nothing but unpaid bills and the weight of a collapsing household. She feels the walls closing in. Creditors call. The house begins to feel too large, too empty. For the first time in years, Elaine is the one who feels powerless. And in her desperation, only one name comes to mind: Jasmine. It has been months since they last spoke, but Elaine convinces herself that her daughter owes her. She's my child, she thinks. She can't really abandon me. So, dressed in her finest clothes that now feel like a disguise, Elaine walks into the city, straight to the tall glass building that bears a company logo she doesn't recognize. She has heard whispers that Jasmine works there, but she does not know the truth. Not yet. When the elevator doors open to the top floor, she steps out into a world she cannot comprehend. Sleek offices, assistants rushing back and forth, staff greeting one another with respect and purpose. And at the center of it all, behind wide glass doors, sits Jasmine. Elaine stops. For a moment, she doesn't even breathe. Her daughter, the one she called a failure, the one she pushed out of her house, is sitting at a grand desk, her posture calm, her presence commanding. People around her listen intently, waiting for her word. She is not small anymore. She is not weak. She is not broken. She is the CEO. Elaine pushes the doors open without knocking. The staff glance nervously, unsure whether to stop her. Jasmine looks up, and her eyes freeze when she sees her mother standing there. For a long moment, no one speaks. The silence is heavy. Then Elaine breaks down. She doesn't shout, doesn't sneer, she cries. Real desperate tears. In front of Jasmine's staff, in the middle of her office, Elaine's pride cracks. Jasmine, she sobs, her voice breaking. I was wrong. I need you. Please, I have nothing left. Help me. Forgive me. The room goes still. Employees exchange awkward glances, not sure whether to leave or stay. Jasmine doesn't move. She watches her mother cry, and for the first time, she feels nothing but clarity. Elaine continues, her words spilling out like water from a broken dam. I didn't mean the things I said. You're not a failure. You're my daughter, my only daughter. Please, I'm drowning. I need money. I need you. Jasmine slowly rises from her chair. Her heels click against the polished floor as she steps closer. Her staff watches in stunned silence, sensing that something far deeper is happening than they understand. When Jasmine finally speaks, her voice is calm but sharp, carrying the weight of years of pain. The day you told me to leave your house was the day I built my own. You don't get to come back now that it's worth more than $400 million. The words slice through the room. Elaine stumbles back, as if the air itself has struck her. She collapses into a chair, covering her face with trembling hands. For the first time, she feels the depth of her cruelty. The years she dismissed, the sacrifices she ignored, the love she crushed. And now, standing before her, is proof that Jasmine never needed her approval to rise. Tears pour down Elaine's face as she whispers, "What have I done?" The staff remain silent, respectful but shaken by what they've just witnessed. The once proud mother who called her daughter worthless now sits in ruin at her feet. And then the door opens again. Caleb steps inside. His face is pale, his eyes full of hope and fear all at once. He looks from Elaine to Jasmine, then back again. "Jazz," he says softly, almost like a prayer. The room holds its breath. Jasmine turns toward him, her expression softening for the first time. She sees not the betrayal of the past, not the weight of their mother's cruelty, but her brother, the one person she always loved, standing there with hopeful eyes. The silence is tense, heavy with everything unsaid. A choice lingers in the air, between the chains of the past and the freedom of the future. And for the first time, Jasmine knows exactly where she stands. Jasmine takes Caleb aside, away from the eyes of the staff and the sight of their crying mother. They step into a smaller meeting room, the glass walls giving them privacy, but still letting in the glow of the city lights. Caleb's hands shake as he looks at her. He doesn't know what to say. For so long, he had been caught in the middle, loving his sister but living under Elaine's control. Now, standing before Jasmine, he feels both guilt and relief. "I'm sorry," Caleb whispers. "I should have stood up for you. I should have done more." Jasmine reaches out, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. "You were sick, Caleb. You don't need to carry that weight. I did what I did because I love you." His eyes well with tears. "I don't want to lose you again." "You won't," Jasmine says firmly. Her voice is steady, stronger than ever. "I promise you this. I'll make sure you have the medical care you need, the future you deserve. You will never have to worry about that again." "But," she pauses, her eyes hardening, "Mom will not control me anymore. She doesn't get to stand in the middle of our lives and use us against each other. Not ever again." Caleb nods. Though his face shows conflict, he still loves Elaine, even after all her cruelty. But he also knows Jasmine is right. Their mother had turned love into a weapon, and now it was time to break free. In the following days, Jasmine makes her decision final. She cancels every financial tie that could lead back to Elaine. No more quiet payments, no more bills covered, no more lifelines for a woman who had thrown her out like trash. But she makes a separate plan for Caleb. She sets up a trust fund in his name, ensures his medical bills are fully covered, and hires professionals to support him. Caleb doesn't have to rely on Elaine anymore. He has Jasmine, and this time, it's on her terms. When Elaine hears about it, she explodes in anger, accusing Jasmine of stealing her son. But Jasmine doesn't flinch. For the first time in her life, her mother's words hold no power over her. The chains are broken. With her family ties cut, Jasmine begins to embrace the freedom she once thought she'd never have. She moves into a beautiful home that feels truly hers, not a place borrowed or shared out of obligation. She surrounds herself with people who support her, who believe in her, who see her worth without asking her to prove it. And then she does something she never thought she would. She tells her story publicly. In interviews, in speeches, and even in quiet conversations with young women chasing their own dreams, Jasmine begins to share the truth. She talks about the night her mother told her to leave. She explains how it broke her, but also how it pushed her to build something greater. She tells people that rejection became her fuel, that being cast out gave her the strength to succeed. Her words spread quickly. People connect with her honesty, her pain, and her triumph. She becomes more than a CEO. She becomes a symbol of resilience. And through it all, she feels lighter, freer, stronger than she ever imagined. For the first time, Jasmine realizes she doesn't need her mother's approval, or anyone's approval, to know her worth. She doesn't need applause or validation or permission. She looks in the mirror one morning, standing tall in the sunlight pouring into her new home, and whispers to herself, "I'm enough." And she believes it. The woman who once begged for love is gone. The woman standing here now is whole. Jasmine visits her old bedroom in the house she grew up in. The room feels smaller now. The faded wallpaper, the squeaky bed frame, the old desk where she once did her homework, all of it looks frozen in time. Dust sits on the corners, like no one bothered to care for the space after she left. Jasmine walks slowly around the room. She runs her hand across the desk, remembering nights when she studied late, dreaming of a future no one believed she could have. She looks at the window where she once stared outside, wishing to escape the constant criticism from her mother. For a moment, the memories flood back, the harsh words, the nights she cried silently, the feeling of being unwanted. But this time there is no pain, only calm. She stands in the center of the room, breathing deeply. "This place was where I learned how strong I had to be," she whispers to herself. "I left with nothing. I came back with everything that mattered, myself." Her voice doesn't tremble. It's steady, filled with quiet power. Jasmine walks to the closet and opens it. Inside hangs an old jacket she wore as a teenager, patched and faded. She smiles softly, remembering how she used to hide her tears in its sleeves. She folds it carefully and sets it back. She doesn't need to take anything with her. The room, once filled with sorrow, now feels like a chapter already closed. Jasmine takes one last look. No bitterness. No anger. Just peace. She turns off the light and steps into the hallway. The house is silent. Her footsteps echo, but she feels lighter with every step. She knows she doesn't belong here anymore, and that's okay. When she reaches the front door, she pauses. For years, this door was the line between her old life and the unknown world outside. Back then, she walked out broken, scared, and unwanted. Now, she leaves as a woman who built an empire. A woman who healed herself. A woman who no longer needs permission to exist. The sunlight spills across her face as she steps outside. She doesn't look back. The house, with all its memories, stays behind her forever. And Jasmine walks forward free. Hi, my loves. Sparkling Heart, thanks so much for staying till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. See you in the next one. Bye. Sparkles.